mother is trying to use Colorado's new gun control law to disarm the police officer who shot and killed her son, a shooting that was ruled justified. Gun rights activists predicted the law would be used to harass people. Dialing 3 numbers like 911 for mental health help, that only works if there are folks to answer the phone. We wonder where Senator Michael Bennet is tonight, if he's still running for president and can't make the debate stage. More encouraging signs of compromise in Denver's historic preservation battles. And life after a college football championship. Another LSU quarterback to win it all is now in the business of smiles, right here in Colorado. That's next. A mother is trying to use Colorado's new red flag gun control law to disarm the police officer who shot and killed her son. Gun activists have warned that that law will be used for revenge. And now, just 5 cases into the controversial new law, the limits of red flag gun seizures will soon be tested. This petition to strip CSU Police Corporal Philip Morris of his guns comes from Susan Holmes. She swore under oath that he's family. He's not. She specifically claimed they have a child in common, which is, in a way, tragically true. 3 years ago, Corporal Morris shot and killed Holmes' 19-year-old son as he threatened people with a knife. Prosecutors say that Morris told the teenager to drop the weapon dozens of times as the 19-year-old told police to kill him. Prosecutors decided the shooting was justified. Susan Holmes has become a vocal critic of police policy in the years since. She's asking a judge to use Colorado's red flag gun control law to take Corporal Morris's guns away. The law can only be used by law enforcement or family or household member. Yet the judge did not dismiss Holmes's petition immediately. He set it for a hearing this week. As this story was just airing, Republican House Minority Leader Patrick Neville tweeted that they predicted this and said that a falsely accused person has no recourse other than hoping that a DA files charges. Holmes swore under penalty of perjury that she and that officer are family. So we'll be watching what happens with his guns and also the possibility that she could face legal trouble for her claim. I was not able to reach her today. The leading Democrats in their primary for president debate tonight for the last time before the Iowa caucuses. 6 people made that debate stage. You will not see Colorado Senator Michael Bennet up there. I am asked with surprising frequency in all kinds of places, is Michael Bennet still running for president? Yes. You would like me to elaborate on this? Yes, he's running. He's in low single digits in New Hampshire, where he said he wants to finish in the top 3, which would shock the race. His team tells me that Bennet is going to watch the debate from Washington tonight, where he is preparing for a possible war powers vote and the president's impeachment trial. We're getting our first look at the bill to repeal Colorado's death penalty, and right up at the top are 3 Republican co-sponsors in the state Senate. That makes it very likely this will pass and end the death penalty that honestly Colorado stopped using decades ago. The bill only applies to future cases, not to the 3 men currently on death row. And Governor Polis's spokesman was non-committal when I asked today if Polis would commute their sentences after a death penalty repeal. 911 only works because when you call, someone answers the phone. The idea of setting up 988 as a national mental health crisis line, that would only work if Colorado has people to keep up with the calls. Anusha Roy looks at that challenge.
The phones at the Rocky Mountain Crisis Services Center ring more than 180,000 times every year, and it's very important the people picking up those calls have quality time for them.
It is a big responsibility.
That quality is what Executive Director Bev Marquez wants to protect.
While it can sound like it's about money, that money really represents being able to take care of the individual and family in crisis.
She thinks the idea of dialing 988 instead of the 10-digit number for the National Suicide Prevention Line is a good thing.
Overall, the value we absolutely support.
She also knows it could increase their call volume by 40%, which would require at least 12 more people working here.
What would be worse than having a number that people don't remember is having a number that's easy to remember and not getting a response.
But where that money is going to come from is a bit confusing.
When the 988 is actually up and running and gets advertised, it is so much simpler. and so much more accessible that more people will use it, without a doubt.
Mo Keller with Mental Health Colorado read through a proposed legislation to build a framework to run 988. She said that bill would allow cities to set up a fee that people would share on their phone bills, much like 911, and that money would have to go towards running 988.
If there were to be federal funding that aligned with that, that would be ideal.
But when we asked the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, they said they don't have that answer yet and that Congress makes budget appropriations. So that third option would be state dollars, which would most likely need to go through the state legislature. But at this point, both Mental Health Colorado, Office of Behavioral Health saying it's just too early for that discussion, which leaves the people who know that they're going to be answering these calls with a really valid question of if they need more help, where are they going to be getting that from?
Sure. Got to stress to people, don't call that number now. It's not set up.
No, it is not. And I mean, it is going to be more than a year before that's even set up, which makes the local number, the Colorado Crisis Services, the national hotline, those are the people that are there ready to take your call 24/7. All
right. Thank you, Anusha. That's why every time we talk about a story that might trigger this need for people, we want to remind you there are crisis services available right now, 24/7, 365 in Colorado. You can call or text Colorado Crisis Services. The number is 1-844-493-8255, or you can text the word TALK to 38255. Developers want to tear down the chapel in Denver's Berkeley neighborhood and build on that spot. Neighbors don't like that idea, and now they think that they found a new developer who would keep the chapel and just build around it. The group called Historic Berkeley Regis, which hopes to get a landmark designation to protect that property, is not naming this potential buyer publicly. But they told us that they're stoked because they think that it could give everyone what they want. It would mean a payout for the people who currently own the land in the chapel. It would make room for new space for development, and it would mean continued life for the Olinger Moore Howard Chapel at 46th and Sheridan. That historic preservation battle, as well as the fight over what to do with Tom's Diner on Colfax, both offer me real encouragement that there's common ground to be found when debating what to do with the local landmarks that people love. You should remember, Tom's Diner was going to be demolished, neighbors protested, and now there's a deal that'll keep the historic building and let the owner sell the property to retire on the proceeds. Now that potential for an agreement to keep the chapel in the Berkeley neighborhood and get some much-needed housing on that extra land, this again seems to be a blueprint of how the process can be used for compromise as opposed to winner-take-all scenarios. Denver could use a lot more of those. We went down a real rabbit hole together on social media and email last night talking about Colorado's new ID cards. First, a few of you correctly pointed out that if you have a gold or a black star on top of your ID, then you are good to go for the new airport rules that are going to be in the news in the next year. 97% of Coloradans are in the clear when it comes to the new IDs. But you also notice that the new IDs are not as flexible as the old ones. They don't bend the same way. A viewer named Tom tweeted in to say that he's been seeing the new licenses snapping in half when people fall on them while skiing and snowboarding. That kind of strikes me as the most Colorado problem ever. We called up the DMV and they told us they have heard about the new licenses snapping. Typically, customers don't tell them whether it was a ski accident or not. And they reminded us that if you ever snap yours, you can get a replacement for free at the DMV. So here's a fun fact, or as my wife says, maybe it's just a fact, Kyle. So anyway, you can decide if it's a fun fact. Colorado's winter storms often form in the Arctic, but forecasters wish they knew more about how the storms form because they don't have a lot of weather stations up there. A CU Boulder researcher decided to go up and do something about that. We've been following Matt Shoup's journey here on Next. He just got back to Colorado after 3 months in the Arctic working on the Mosaic project. It's a mission to study changing sea ice. While he's out there, he's been launching weather balloons 4 times a day so that they gather data in the atmosphere. That goes into our computer forecast models. His work in the remote Arctic also means months of working in the dark. The guy had not seen the sun in months until he returned home.
I've been back for about a week and a half now, and it really feels, it's interesting to reintegrate. You know, we're out there kind of isolated from a lot of people, and, you know, all these sensory inputs from people, cars, all that, it's kind of new. And of course the sun is totally, we didn't have sun for the last 2.5 months.
Those photos are pretty epic too. The Mosaic project is a year-long mission. They swap crews out so they're not up there for the full 12 months. Ship will continue to gather data from the weather balloons until the end of the project. They'll analyze it to see if it can improve our winter storm forecasts. The goal is to figure out how more permanent weather stations can be installed on the ice floes and fill in some of the missing information. Another LSU quarterback to win a national title is now working in Colorado. His line of business has changed.
You work with a team just like you do in football?
We'll talk about life after one of the greatest highs in sports next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a sweet scene from the National Western Stock Show. You know, between the petting zoo and the rodeo and the livestock and everything, I mean, just a lot of excitement, and that young man was wiped. Fell asleep, safe and sound in loving arms, or actually just kind of over two loving knees. Kids can sleep anywhere. I love that photo so much. What's the most Colorado thing you've seen lately? Share it with the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com.
Kid is the cutest. Got to catch those Z's where you can. Tonight, the sunset stunning. This one from Loveland, overlooking the mountains in the distance. Don Mackey capturing that great shot. It's been a windy one up in the mountains, 30, 40, 50 mile per hour gusts coming through. Wind simmering down here for the metro area, which is so nice to see, as they really will be backing off quite a bit as we head toward tomorrow. Storm system out to the northwest, more snowfall for the Cascades through Washington and Oregon, and that wave will be moving into Colorado's high country late tonight into early tomorrow morning. Not a ton of snowfall, but we'll take what we can get, right? This evening, we're down to 22 under mostly clear skies, 20s along the plains with teens mainly going up in the mountains. Here we are at about 11 o'clock, snowfall filtering in across our northern and central mountains. But again, it doesn't last long, a couple of inches tops, and then we wake up to beautiful blue skies. The drive up I-70 tomorrow morning to reach some of that fresh powder. It should be a breeze. As we go throughout the rest of the afternoon, it's going to be a quiet one for us, a dry day, a seasonal day here in Colorado. Snowfall amounts right now look to be about 1 to 3 inches for our northern mountains. Tomorrow, temperatures much cooler than today. Today, we're close to 60 degrees, back to the mid-40s, but hey, that's okay if the winds will quiet down just a bit for us. 50s in Lamar and Springfield with 20s and 30s up in the mountains. We will warm up once again toward the end of the week. We'll also be tracking really strong winds Friday night into Saturday. So far, the weekend looks cool and dry, and Kyle, we will stay dry through the beginning of next week. No snow in sight.
Not stock show weather, but you're still welcome to go. Have a great time.
It's awesome.
Thank you, Danielle. The LSU Tigers are national champions. Their quarterback, Joe Burrow, is a Heisman winner, likely the #1 pick in the draft. And he also has a bit in common with a dentist in Aurora. Here's Noel Brennan.
Kyle, awesome job, man.
The mask. Can't hide the fact. Dr. Matt Mock is in a good mood.
A little bit bigger smile on my face after LSU's victory last night.
In this office, college football is a big deal for the dentist
I love football.
and his staff.
Yes. Ohio State's my favorite team, though.
But even Raylene, the receptionist, rooted for LSU over Clemson Monday night.
I went, woo!
The LSU Tigers are national champs, like they were when a dentist played QB.
Dr. Mock, Matt, oh my gosh, I think he's a god in Louisiana.
Everybody at the office kind of gives me a hard time. I don't talk about it very much.
And he won the championship way back, I think, in 2003.
The year we won it, they had not won since 1958. It kind of made it even more special just because of how long it had been.
It felt good enough to make football his first career.
Played 1 year with the Broncos, 2 years with the Titans. There'll probably be some patients that maybe see this and are like, what?
He's traded cheering fans for smiling patients.
It's a different feeling, but it's just as rewarding.
The dentist might miss the competition, but he's still got a team.
And he's also a wonderful boss.
Okay, well, Kyle, you're all done. Awesome, man.
For Next, I'm Noel Brennan.
Matt Mock always knew he wanted a career outside of sports. He's been practicing dentistry in Colorado since 2011. I always thought these people were working. Maybe they're practicing.
We practice like 3 hours a day sometimes just to have fun with it.
How else do you expect to win a championship? That's next. I mean, LSU and championship football is nice, but you know, there's a big championship this weekend. The athletes are getting in their final preparations. And we get a look at the solo sport of sign spinning through the lens of photojournalist Corky Scholl.
Some people are purely sign spinners so that they can spin a sign and make some extra money, but some of us take this as a real sport. Hi, I'm Mia and I'm a sign spinner. We're about to actually go out to what we call the World Sign Spinning Championship. It's basically the best sign spinners throughout the world. And we all go and we meet up in Vegas and we basically go and spin signs to see who's the best. This will be my 4th year competing. Definitely the trick I'm most known for will be that one. Oh yeah, it is a workout. Like, my arms hurt sometimes after shifts. It happens. It just gains muscle where you want your muscle, I guess. You can work out of the gym. Personally, that's not my favorite thing to do because a lot of this job, just like any other sport, is a lot of muscle memory and a lot of, I guess, unique muscle placements. And so the best way to actually train for this competition, other than practicing like yoga, would be a good one. If you like to go upside down and you want to do tricks like that, yoga helps a lot with your upper body strength, but also just get out there and do physical training with the sign itself. I feel like there should be a lot more female sign spinners. A lot of people, I feel like, look at this job and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, not realizing how much fun it is and how empowering it is as a female to be able to stand out there on a street corner and do all of these cool things, or to compete with the guys on the level that we do. Just is really something. It makes myself at least feel really great.
I love that. Me and the rest of them compete in Vegas starting on Friday. A next viewer has spotted a sign that raises a question about, of all things, our firewood. That and your feedback next. It's a sign that requires a bit of explanation if you don't know a lot about protecting Colorado's trees. So how about some nice heat-treated firewood? It'll run you $7.99. Paul spotted this in North Boulder. I mean, maybe it's a Boulder thing. I don't know. I've heard of drying firewood, but heat-treated? So we took the burning question to the interwebs, where I learned that heat-dried is different than like kiln-dried firewood. Heat-dried means a specific thing. It means it's been heated to the point that it kills the emerald ash borers in the wood so that they can't get loose and chew through more of Colorado's trees. It's actually illegal to bring regular firewood or kiln-dried firewood into areas that are under quarantine for the ash borer. A lot of feedback tonight about the red flag gun confiscation case up in Larimer County. Chris Underwood says he hopes the woman who reported it is charged for falsifying information and abuse of legal services. Curious why the judge didn't just throw it out. The hearing is on Thursday. We may get some clarity on how the judge is handling it. And then Amy writes in, curious whether LSU's QB turned dentist is single. Next is not a dating show, Amy.